Good evening to you all. Welcome to openmentor.net. This is Nagarajan from OpenMentor. Are you able to hear my voice clearly? Can you please raise the hands? Okay, good. So let us get started for this evening. Today we are going to see web services, because this is a standard jargon nowadays in most of the companies, especially in new tech areas. So I'll be talking about web services. At the same time, we'll be going through the basics of web services, some code portion of web services, unit testing and unit test automation of web services, and load testing that. Before that, I would like to show something on the screen. Many people are saying that they have not seen the material for the previous training sessions. Okay. If you go to openmentor.net, you'll be connected to that website. Then you can just see this. You don't have to go to the portal now. And there is something called there is something called recorded training and course material. Okay. If you go to the course material, okay, it takes you to this page. Hope you are seeing this page. Okay. Now, if you go further down in this page, if you click on testing, now we have uploaded Neoload presentation. Whatever presentation we had for Neoload, we uploaded that. And then we have uploaded the white box testing concepts also. Plus, we have uploaded the Selenium testing tool also. So all the presentations are now available on the portal. So do you see that? Can you please raise the hands if you see all these things on the screen? Good. This is good. Now, what is pending is the recorded portion. Okay. So if you go to openmentor.net, that is the portion. Okay. openmentor.net is the portion. Okay. Now, if you want to have any other material from here, you are free to use these things as for information only. Okay. This is only for educational purposes. So please restrict the use to educational purposes only. Good. This is one information that people asked. And again, a few people are saying there is a voice problem. This is typically, again, the bandwidth at your end. So please check the bandwidth at your end. We are connected at high speed, more than 2 Mbps. Okay. And a few requests have come in terms of paid webinars. Okay. Before we start white box testing, I will just announce and then we will continue with this webinar. If you go to softsmith.com, you will see the home page. From the home page, if you click this Learn for Free Open Mentor, okay, if you click that, you will be taken to this webinars page. Most of the 99% of the webinars are free. A few people have asked exclusive webinars. For that, we have given, if you refresh the page, you could see something called Webinar Gold here. Okay, there is a Webinar Gold. This is a paid webinar. If you click on this Webinar Gold, you will see the Webinar Gold. We are going to conduct advanced load runner 4 hours on Saturdays for 3 Saturdays. So you'll be having 12 hours of full learning of load runners tool, and you can get the detailed topics from here. So all you need to do is go to our webinar page from Software homepage. From there, go to Webinar Gold. You will have to pay some amount for that. This amount is again used to keep our servers, material, GoToWebinar licenses, or paying volunteers to encourage this free learning more and more. With that, I stop this introductory note on some of the important announcements. Let us get back to business of this webinar. Now, again, this webinar, paid webinar, starts from this Saturday. Once you get the do the payment, and then it has given instructions there, then you will get a separate link for attending this webinar. A paid webinar, you will have more interactions there. Now, let us get back to web services. Now, what are web services? A web service is nothing but an interface. When two programs need to talk to each other, you need interface. But there are traditional ways of interfacing. One program talking to another program in a specific format called EDI, electronic data interchange, or there are ways you pass objects itself from one to other. But the current day scenario required plug and play concept. For that, web service has been instrumental. Web service is nothing but an interface. It uses XML, extended markup language, or SOAP, simple object access protocol, or WSDL, web services description language, or UDDI. We are not going to go deep into each of these. What is XML, what is SOAP, what is WSDL, what is UDDI. We may just touch in a nutshell, because our purpose here is to test the web service, not to create the web service. And again, pretty much like you have got HTML standards and HTTP protocol standards, these XML, SOAP, etc. also do have different versions, like SOAP 1.2, XML 1.0, like this. Again, since many people are asking what is XML SOAP, just to give a brief introduction on that part, I'm just giving an example of on XML. XML is the backbone of everything, including SOAP. Okay. Again, thanks for visiting openmentor.net. You are welcome to attend all the free webinars, access the material for educational purposes. And you are instructed to use your own licenses for any downloads. Okay. Now, XML is, for example, if I want to have employee code, employee name, and then grade, and then salary. If you want to have this information, traditional way of having the information is a comma separated file, like 101, employee name Raja, employee grade is project manager, salary is say 10,000. Then I can have another employee code 102, James, team lead, salary is 8,000. Okay, another employee code 103, Robert, systems analyst 5000. So you can represent data like a comma separated value, or if you don't like comma separated value, you can also do something called tab separated value, right? This is called you put a tab character. This is called a TSV, tab separated values. So there are basically you are structuring the data. But what XML does is XML has tags and data. That means I will have something called employee as a tag. Again, people who already know need to wait for a few minutes because many people have come with very minimal XML knowledge. That's why we are including this. Then I would say EMP code is a tag / EMP code. Then EMP name / EMP name. Then you will have a grade / grade. Then you have got something called salary / salary. These are all the tags. This employee / employee is called a container. Within that, these are all called individual nodes. This is called a container. This is called a node. This node will have data. Okay, 101. Then Raja, the grade is PM. Salary is 10,000. The same data, rather than representing in comma separated value or tab separated value or some structured value, we are representing in terms of envelopes or containers, then individual nodes. And this is saved as .xml. You will have containers and nodes. Then this is stored in star.xml file. Okay, so this is the basics about XML. So all these web services work based on the XML. Okay, is this clear? Can you please raise the hands? Cool. Perfect. Now let me go further. Now XML and web services. XML is the backbone of web services. Without XML, web service will not work. There are certain key things and operations you need to know about web service. This is called, a web service will have something called a service provider, something called registry, something called a consumer. Okay, consumer is the one who calls the web service and then uses the services. Registry is the place where information is stored and published. This is the actual service provider, is the actual web service itself. So there are three things you need to, again, I am not going very deep into each of them. The reason is our aim is not to build a web service but to test the web service. This is only for your academic purposes. Service provider, registry and consumer are the three major role players in web service. Publish, find, bind are the three major operations. Okay, publish means there should be somebody to say that this is the web service, this is the methods, etc. Then the moment you access, it has to find the web service. Then when you say bind, you have to call the web service. A web server like IIS or Tomcat, okay, essentially holds the service. So without a web server, you cannot run a web service. Somebody was asking what is the difference between Windows services and web services. Windows services do not require, okay, a typical IIS or Tomcat. Okay, So whereas a web service, you require a web server, maybe a Tomcat, maybe an IAS, maybe any other web server. You deploy the service there. Then every web service is like a request and response. I send something, it does something, and it returns something. So a request is sent, it takes the input, it does some process, then it responds back. Then to call a web service, you need to know the methods and arguments. When we go to the testing part of it, we will talk about how to know the methods and arguments of the web service. Okay. What is the advantage of web service in today's context? Why people are having a lot of, I would say, buzz around this web service? Okay. A few people are saying that they are not able to connect. Just I will reply to them and then be back. You need to use in your screen, in the audio option, you will have telephone and mic and speakers, right? So in audio option of webinar, use mic and speakers option only and not telephone mode, because if you use that portion, it will not work. It may work, but it's an international number, so it's an issue. If you don't have if you don't see the screen, reconnect and check bandwidth. Typically, I see all the people hearing my voice as well as seeing the screen. Only 2 or 3 are having this issue. We are obliged to answer those questions also. So if you have problem, reconnect, check your bandwidth. Coming back, advantages of XML is, XML has specific advantage of being independent of data position. That means in a comma separated value, I can have A, B, C, D. But by mistake, if I interchange A, C, B, D, instead of appearing A, B, C, D, it appears A, C, B, D, the other program may have an issue, because it will treat the second data as B, whereas the second data is actually C. So by position, it will have a problem. Whereas in XML, we saw the node, employee, name, code, etc. You can interchange the positions within the container. It doesn't affect, because it is referring based on the tag names. So the position is immaterial. Another major important thing is web services are language independent. So calling one from the other is very easy. So you can write a C# program, you can write a C# web service, and you can integrate it with any other JSP page or anywhere. So interconnecting systems, okay, this is typically integrating multiple systems. It becomes easy. By nature, web services, right, is they are independent. Since they are independent, you can use them as plug and play components. So applications can be easily enhanced, upgraded, then plugged in with new features without affecting others. That's a key thing. Whereas if you want to upgrade, in many places you have to ask people to log out, you need to do something, bring the servers down. Whereas okay, this is an issue. Whereas if you use web service, you can keep on enhancing without having any issue. So this is independent and plug and play. Okay. So when we have web service, again, some people are asking, to test the web service, do you need a web server? Again, to test you don't need, but the web service needs to be deployed in a web server, right? That's a fundamental thing. Going one level further, there is an extension to these web services is called SOA. This is another buzzword in the industry. Okay. SOA, right, is service-oriented architecture. Service-oriented architecture meaning take an online portal, shopping portal, and you are writing separate code for product catalog, get price, add to cart, payment gateway, etc. And you are making it as a platform. What you are doing is you are making it as a platform, making others, third parties to interface with that. In that case, web service, the service-oriented architecture plays a major role. You make everything as independent services, make them everything independent and plug and play. So it's an extension of web services to purely every request response is treated as an independent service request. So because of that only, it becomes an open field for many vendors to build. That means you take, let us take social networking applications and or platforms like Salesforce.com. They are all easily extensible because you can integrate your application with that, because it is all mainly due to the service-oriented architecture. Their interfacing capabilities with other programs is very extensible, and it's simple. More than that, it is very simple. That's the key area. That is possible due to service-oriented architecture. Now, one person has asked exactly the question, and this slides answers that. Okay. Now, what is it having? You are saying web service, this, that. What does it have? XML, as I explained, it contains tags and data and the containers. SOAP contains, again, SOAP also is an XML, but SOAP has got three distinct things: envelope, header, and body. Each one is an XML. Envelope is an XML. Header, envelope is nothing but a container. Header is also an XML. Body is also an XML structure. WSDL is also in terms of XML only. It contains data types, messages, and service ports. UDDI, this is mainly for universal business registries. This is typically used for example, large information which are public, like yellow pages, telephone directory information, or many government information which are publicly available. Typically people use UDDI because these are all common information and they don't go through a lot of changes over a period of time. So UDDI is mainly used for universal business registries where structures are already predefined. Okay. But the last line is very important. Everything is ultimately XML. Container, tags, nodes. Okay. Now, is it hard and fast that it should use XML? In fact, one person has asked, nowadays, even a web service can use something called JSON data format. JSON is JavaScript object notation. So this JavaScript object notation contains name value pairs. Okay. Even if you take XML, it contains this less than sign and then the tag name, then the greater than sign, then the data, then slash the same end tag. It is also a name value pair, but it has got tag slash end tag. Whereas in JSON, it is a name comma value. So it's a name comma value always separated by comma separated list. So JSON is also frequently used nowadays. So ultimately it's all containing either XML, right, and JSON. Now someone is asking, can you repeat SOA? SOA is mainly used for plug and play kind of design. For example, today I am creating a social networking site. Tomorrow, I want to include a shopping cart also to that. I cannot make simple changes to my web pages. It should be in a position to have external third parties calling my interfaces. If that is the case, I should make my interface generic. So to make my interfaces generic, again, I'll give you a simple example. Why today we are all connected? Internet. And what is the magic of internet? Because it is consistent. HTTP protocol. I also use HTTP protocol. You also use HTTP protocol. So it is simple and it is consistent. A standard across the world. And it uses HTML notation to display pages. So HTML is a standardized version. HTTP is a standardized protocol. Same way, if my application has to be used by thousands of third parties also, take a payment gateway like PayPal, okay? PayPal gateway. Many people use that. Thousands of or millions of business use that. Or credit card purchase. Anybody can just plug and play that credit card interface with this. Just to give an example, I will open the web browser. I'll open that webinar gold file for you. You can understand what I'm talking about. I click this webinar gold, okay? Now you could see this. There is a pay now, okay? If I run, say if I enter LR07 or say 0911 and then click pay now, I'm actually connecting to paypal.com. From Softsmith site, we are connected to paypal.com. The data, whatever you are going to submit from that point onwards, it's all taken care by PayPal. But like us, we never wrote a code how to get, someone asked how to pay this fees. You have to type 5 as the quantity and then update this page. It becomes $50 over here. In Indian currency, 2,500 rupees. From this point onwards, it is PayPal gateway, secured gateway. We never wrote this code at all. But in 5 minutes, we are able to integrate this payment gateway with our website. How? Because they have coded in an extensible design. That means anybody can consume your service. So I don't have to code anything especially in my program, just call that. That is typically called service-oriented architecture. Okay. Good. Is this clear? Can you raise your hands? Okay. Good. Almost most of the people are able to hear, except a few. This is because of a bandwidth issue. So now let us get into the next one. Now we are going to actually start doing the testing of web service. From this point onwards, we are going to, okay, I'm going to directly show how a web